Where's all my soul sisters? Let me hear your flow, sisters.
Hey, sister, go, sister, soul, sister, flow, sister. Hey, sister, go, sister, soul, sister, go.
Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com, and as you saw from the introduction, I will be doing the voiceover for the Soul Sisters video over at Gathering Magic for their Did You Know series, which is a pretty popular series over at Gathering Magic, and it's been my pleasure to do the voiceover as I consider this my pet deck, Soul Sisters. It really did help my channel grow. It got me to a pro tour. I've had by far the most success with this deck in Modern in various times. I'm not quite sure right now would be the best time to run Soul Sisters in Modern. As many of you may know, I've pretty much bowed out of the format. I have, more out of protest than anything. I think that it still lacks vision, even though both at Vancouver, GP Vancouver, and Brisbane, it did seem to have quite a diversity in decks that were played. Had a variety of decks. I think the top 8 was extremely diverse, and the top 32 had like 15 different decks, or even higher than that. Some astronomical number. Just a very, very diverse format. Other than I would still say I want to see a little more vision. Still have an issue with some things that are legal or not legal. The bannings in Modern make zero sense to me, while where some things that I think should be legitimate or banned in the format, and other things that I still think should be looked at. I'm looking at you, Simian Spirit Guide, should be out of the format. So until we get some sort of vision from Wizards of the Coast especially, I just kind of bowed out of the format and moved on to New Frontiers. Hint, hint. Anyway, since I will be doing that voiceover, though, I thought I would showcase some of these Soul Sister decks that I currently, these are the builds that I have been using when I do get suckered into playing Modern. So the first one is just a good old Soul Sisters. This is trying to have the best of all the worlds, with Path to Exile being a 4 of, as the Path to Exile has a lot of good game right now against a number of decks. Is a great way to exile any sort of combo that the Abzan Coco decks are trying to get out, or like the Kiki Cord decks. We're even starting to see like Eldritch Evolution find those key pieces for combo, and Path to Exile is still the best answer in Modern for those particular matchups. It's also very good against like Death and Taxes to get rid of a particular troublesome card. It's still great versus Merfolk and all of the Bant Eldrazi decks, and still, even if you have it in the main, it's not dead versus a lot of the decks like Jund or Dredge or cards. You can get rid of a problematic card, and then as the game progresses, Soul Sisters does a very good job against other creature-based decks about taking over the game. So this is the one that is going to be running 4 of. The other lists do not run 4 Path to Exiles, that they're focused more on what the Soul Sisters strategy is doing. This is the one exception. So this is the good old one that's going to try to get Sarah's Ascendant and Johnny's Pridemate online. Sarah's Ascendant is going to be a 6/6 through the cards like the Soul Warden and the Soul Attendants. I have forgone Martyr in this particular deck. I don't think that Martyr is very good. You'll see it in the next list I'll show you, because it has synergy with another card that is excluded from this list. So the Soul Sisters gets its name from the Soul Warden and the Soul's Attendant, which they pair up to become these Soul Sisters, to then try to get up to 30 life for Sarah's Ascendant, or just put counters on the Johnny's Pridemate. The Auric Champion is the other Soul Sisters, which has very good game versus the Fatal Push decks and the Lightning Bolt decks. So dodges, terminates, abrupt decays, lightning bolts, fatal pushes, all those are premier removal cards in the format, and Auric Champion cannot be killed by those cards. So it's a very, very powerful card that stays out, gains you that life, stabilizes until you can find your, what I call the Attrition War package, which is going to be the next cards I'm talking about. And then once you do stabilize, you will chip down your opponent's life total, or chip down the resources until you can take over the game. So onto the Attrition package. Honor the Pure is going to make all of your cards bigger than they should be. So all of your Soul Attendants will be 2/2s instead of 1/1s, or the Soul Sisters. And then cards like the Sarah's Ascendant, even if you don't have 30 life quite yet, will have 2/2 life linking, which can get you to 30 quicker, and it just helps the Johnny's Pride mate. But it really pairs well with Spectral Procession. So if you have an Honor the Pure and a Spectral Procession, you can actually switch gears quite quickly. So Honor the Pure, a Spectral Procession, just 3 damage per turn, not that great. Honor the Pure, 6 damage per turn, yeah, that's going to take over the game very, very quickly. Ranger of Eos, same thing. It's going to, instead of get 1/1s, it's going to get 2/2s. And that is incredibly powerful in the 1-for-1 format, which is modern. Sweepers are not a lot of Anger of the Gods running around right now. I think there might be more Angers running around after Dredge did so well at Brisbane. But other than that, I think that we're still in like a 1-for-1 Terminate, Abrupt Decay, Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push type format. So Ranger is 3-for-1. You'll get 3 threats that have to be eventually answered. And topping off this list is going to be the Archangel Thune. We are running 23 lands, so we consistently can get up to Ranger and Archangel Thune. I've ran lower land counts, but if you're going to put the Archangel Thune in the main, I highly suggest you run 23 and nothing lower than 23. It also gives us a little bit of leeway to use the Ghost Quarters on opponents' cards rather than just trying for the Ghost Quarter, Flagstones, or Trocaire combo. This combo helps thin out the deck, which is nice, but I mean, basically the whole reason why we're running Flagstones is just to give our Ghost Quarters a target to hit if there isn't like a problem land that we need to kill out of our opponents. Now there are like Eldrazi Temples that I don't really think are worthwhile killing, but Tron, Ghost Quarters are only saving grace versus that deck, and then against like Valakut, Ghost Quarters can be good. It's mainly in here for like Raging Ravines. Raging Ravines against Jund can be very... And Mutavaults, I guess, with Merfolk can be a huge problem cards, and Ghost Quarters really good at getting rid of those. Inkmoth Nexus, another one. So Ghost Quarters you might as well put in the deck with access to Flagstone's Trocaire. There's no skin off your... it just pairs very... If you don't have a target, you have a target in your own deck, and I think Ghost Quarters works very well in this deck. The other non-basic line is going to be Windburst Heights because it synergizes so well Spectral Processions, as you will have 3 attackers easily through just the Soul Sister package or the Spectral Processions. This just gives you a free card. You're not getting anything crazy like an Emrakul, which some decks try to do with Windburst Heights, but getting like an Archangel Thune or a Ranger or even a Spectral Procession, or even an Honor the Pure as a combat trick is really, really cool with Windburst Heights. That happens all the time. I pick an Honor the Pure, throw in the Windburst Heights, attacking with Spectral Processions, throw the Windburst Heights Honor the Pure out, and then their 2/2s kill the 1/1 Lingering Souls tokens, for example. Or one of my favorite things that I've done with Windburst Heights is I was sitting at 28 life, or something like that, attacked in with the Sarah's Ascendant and 2 other creatures, and they block the Sarah's Ascendant, you flash in Windburst Heights, you gain the 2 life off the Sarah's Ascendant, all of a sudden it is now 30 life, no longer dies, and you now have a huge 7/7 lifelink flyer out for the next swing. So I think Windburst Heights of 4 of is very, very good in this deck. This deck also tries to run a nice little package of hate cards, so that's what's so good about white. You have a Stony Silence for Affinity and Lantern Control, Rest in Peace versus Dredge, Living End, plenty of other decks that try to Storm, that try to utilize their graveyard. I do bring it in versus Delver. I do sometimes bring it in versus Jund, depends on how graveyard based they are. So Rest in Peace is a great 3 of in the sideboard at the moment. It is a non-bow with Return to the Ranks, and some of those matchups you do want Return to the Ranks. So Grixis and Jund, you have to value which one you think you're going to want out more, because Return to the Ranks is the greatest way to fight the attrition war, as off of even a Spectral Processions late game, we're talking like turn 5, have 5 lines out in a Spectral Processions, you can get back like 6 creatures in your graveyard. So if you have a ton of creatures that have been killed off, the good thing about Return to the Ranks is it doesn't care if it's 1 mana or 2 mana, like Immortal Servitude or Proclamation of Rebirth. It just cares that it's 2 or 1, which is the vast majority of the cards in your deck. So Return can come in versus those decks that run a ton of removal. We have a Gideon ally of Zendikar. I bring this in versus like Jeskai control or Nahiri control decks. I'll bring it in versus Esper, Jund, Abzan. I think it depends on the Abzan list whether Gideon's good or not. But Gideon just so 1 of is a nice way. It can also switch gears with the emblem and the Spectral Processions. Again, you have a 2/2 flyers with an emblem out rather than just a 1/1 flyers. And then subsequent cards that come out are a lot more durable with that Gideon emblem. Gideon can also switch gears very, very quickly to create a 5/5 human soldier and attack in take out a bunch of it. Survives board wipes, especially like Liliana decks, if they board wipe and then they do not kill their Gideon, then you can activate and then swing and kill their Planeswalker. So it's a very, very good card for that reason. We have Mark of Asylum versus Lightning Bolt decks. This is very good at Ice Red, Lightning Bolt, anything that tries to use damage to kill your creatures, you bring this card in. There's two of those. Repel the Abominals in it for Escape Shift and Infect. It prevents all damage that would be dealt this turn by non-human sources, so Valakut is a non-human source, and so is the majority of the Infect cards. It does not hit the Blighted Agent, but it does hit Inkmoth and Glistener Elf. So then we have Howled Moonlight, which we bring in versus Coco, Eldritch Evolution, and the Court of Calling decks. And you could just cantrip this away. Really, Living End it works versus. It's pretty good for a ton of different strategies that try to cheat in cards. Goryo's Vengeance. Tons of strategies right now that try to do that. Then we have two Blessed Alliances. Blessed Alliance is really cool in this deck because it mainly comes in versus Bogles and Infect. If I know that Bogles and Infect are going to be a heavier share of the metagame, I'll run way more Blessed Alliances, as you can use it just to gain 4 life. I never really use the untapped 2-target creatures, but it comes in handy every now and again. But the main ones you want to use this for is make them sack an attacking creature, being like a Slippery Bogle or a Blighted Agent, for example. And if not, you can always just gain 4 life and put you above for Sarah's Ascendant. You can actually attack in with the Sarah's Ascendant for lethal by hurrying and gaining 4 life, and then your opponent doesn't block or whatever. I don't know why you'd use that in response, but I mean, it does come to play every now and again. So that's just the main Soul Sisters deck. The next one I like to call is Soul Sister Hawks. Soul Sister Hawks tries to use Martyr of Sands more efficiently. I like this build when Burn is really, really big, or some of the larger creature-based zoo decks, Big Zoo, even Little Zoo I'd bring in, Death Shadow, the type of decks where you want to get above your life total or you want to really punish the damage-based decks. Martyr's the best way to do this, but I highly suggest only using Martyr with the Squadron Hawks, because Squadron Hawk fills your hand up and makes Martyr that much more efficient. So one Squadron Hawk turns into 3 Squadron Hawks, which is an additional 9 life from Martyr of the Sands, which is huge. Some Squadron Hawks based decks I'll bring in the land that puts a card back on bottom of your library, but that's a Martyr proc deck where that's bigger in. This is kind of like a hybrid deck between Martyr proc and Soul Sisters. So utilize the difference between is that utilize the 4 Squadron Hawks. The Squadron Hawks then are going to play the Attrition War very well, and these are great blockers versus the Inkmoth Nexuses and any other flying based deck. They can just chump block forever, and just very, very good for attrition wars. I do like this when there is a lot of Jeskai. That's the time I like to play Martyr of the Sands. Jeskai usually is a damage-based deck unless they are going into combo, so they need to kill you with a lot of like Snapcaster Lightning Bolt or Snapcaster Mage Lightning Helix, and if you actually take that aspect away of their deck, just activating Martyr of Sands and gaining 12 life is going to counter 4 Lightning Bolt based cards of them trying to switch gears into the damage. Squadron Hawk also blocks the Celestial Colonnade, which sometimes is a factor in that matchup when you have to just grind until you can like get your Path to Exiles for the Celestial Colonnade. So yeah, right now I don't know if I suggest the Squadron Hawk route. It works a lot better with the main board Return to the Ranks, and so with the Return to the Ranks is in the main. There are champions are in the side in this particular one, and then the sideboard is very much similar to the other Soul Sisters variants. The last one I want to talk about this one also you can go to a 20 land count because there is no Archangel of Thune, and so you can easily just cut a land and cut a Ghost Quarters in that case. The last Soul Sisters build that I play, that I actually have had a lot of success with, is the Soul Sisters Humans build, which does not run the Ajani Pridemate. That's the big difference with this one, is it tries to get to Archangel of Thune for the Anthem effect and Thalia's Lieutenant for the Anthem effect. So no Spectral Processions, no Honor of the Pure, and no Johnny's Pridemate. So everything in this deck is going to be humans. So we're going to run Champion of the Parish, which is going to run more like Zoo. You have another card that comes out quick and does that initial damage. Now this card's not going to get as out of hand as the Johnny's Pridemate, but it is going to be a lot easier to tick up, I would say, because any human ticks it up. And going like a first turn Champion of the Parish into a second turn Thalia's Lieutenant, you then have a 3/3 on the battlefield on turn 2 that is going to get bigger on turn 3, as well as a Thalia's Lieutenant getting bigger on turn 3. What Thalia's Lieutenant is really good in this one too is all of your Soul Sisters are humans. So instead of just relying on 1/1s, they become 2/2s, which is a lot more aggression, of course. It's double the aggression. And it just even gets better with cards like Auric Champion that stick around. Ranger is even a human, so Ranger will give the Thalia's Lieutenant a counter or get a counter from Thalia's Lieutenant. We also, for the best cantrip human in the game, have a Thraben Inspector, which utilizes our little bit higher land count more effectively to dig for cards that we need. We are going to forego a Path to Exile because this deck is more interested in what it's doing than what your opponent's doing. So you want to play more proactive, not reactive Magic. It suffers a little bit more from being vulnerable to the attrition war, so any 1-for-1ing is going to be a lot better in this particular deck. We do have 2 Return to the Ranks in the sideboard for that reason. Return to the Ranks is very powerful in this deck, getting back Thalia's Lieutenants, but it is... This is one where it has a lot narrower place when the time is the opportune time to play this deck. So you're not going to play this in a lot of the metas. You're going to specifically wait till it's like a meta where Zoo is pretty good, and then I'd run something like this. So again, the whole name of the game is to get up the Archangel Thune. Once you get up the Archangel Thune, you're running 12 different Soul Sisters. You're going to be gaining life, and all of these creatures are going to get huge. Yes, Archangel Thune does work very well Spectral Processions, and we are not going Spectral Procession. We're just going to this kind of ground game. But I have had success with this particular deck. We are still going to run the Windburst. No, we're not going to run the Windburst Heist in this one because it's harder to get online. You could run Windburst Heist. In fact, I'd probably run 2 of them. You don't want too many comes in to play tap land because the curve is higher. But the Windburst Heights, I'd run 2 of them in this particular deck. Not the full 4. That's a tongue twister. Anyway, the sideboard is also going to be very similar. Mark of Asylum, Blessed Alliance, 2 more Path to Exiles. They're still good against a bunch of combo decks are going to want to play these cards. And yep, pretty much similar sideboards as the other Soul Sisters. I've had a few other variants in the past. I'd say Martyr Proc runs sort of similar to Soul Sisters. There's also the Nor and the Wary Soul Sisters that I've played before. But all in all, I think that this is one of the more powerful, or these are the 3 more powerful Soul Sisters archetypes that I've had success with. I have been messing around with even like Hidden Stockpile in this particular Modern, because the Hidden Stockpile gets a lot easier with Revolt off of even fetch lands. So I'll mess around with it if I ever get back in Modern, making the servos come out per turn, gaining life, having that scry, pretty good. And any other card that dies too will trigger off the servo. So basically the grind with Hidden Stockpile is real, but I don't know if it'd be better than like Bitter Blossom at that point. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this overview of Soul Sisters. We try to do this every few months. If you're sick of Soul Sisters content, it's probably here to stay. Lucky for you, though, I am becoming more and more disenfranchised with Modern, so you'll probably see less Soul Sisters. If I get some time to stream this week, we'll try to do some Soul Sisters. I'll promise that much to you. So be looking forward to the Did You Know at gatheringmagic.com. I will be doing the voiceover again for it. Thanks for watching.